Thanks, Stephen, for the introduction. Stephen told me that he was going to tell you about a time that I coordinated, I think it was Camille, and my youngest brother and I coordinated a super fast clam digging adventure for our family, and within about a half hour, we coordinated about 30 of us. We all got to this spot to go clam digging, and it was super high tide. It was not clam digging, but we had a huge picnic, and it didn't matter about the clams. Do you remember this? Yeah. Someone said, "Who organized this? And why didn't you check the tides?" Anyway, so Stephen and I have had a few adventures. Just a little bit about me. Stephen mentioned I grew up here. I studied biology at the university here. It was UCCB then. And I traveled a lot in between, well, it took years in between my studies, and then after my studies, traveled quite a bit, lived in different places, and this was kind of my home base. And I was working at CBU with integrative science, and then I lived in BC, where I did my master's in environmental education. And when Nicole and I started talking about me doing this talk, it reminded me about an assignment that we did, this is 10 years ago. An assignment, it was one of the first assignments, and I was asked to think about what it was that influenced my environmental ethic. So some of my colleagues in the program talked about, or they wrote about, a person who influenced them, maybe a teacher or a parent or a grandparent. Some people talked about books that they'd read, and I found it really difficult to pinpoint one influence. So I was thinking about it and just wrote down the thoughts that were coming to me. And here's what I ended up writing about. Here's an excerpt from what I wrote. My commitment to the environment is entirely determined by my connection to place. The world only makes sense to me through my relationship with a place. In thinking about memories that have influenced my concern for the environment, I realized that I can't pull one type of memory away from another. They've all added to the way I feel about the land, and they've all changed, even if only slightly, the way that I think about and teach about the environment. So I have a list of memories that I wrote about. I remember picking tiny strawberries for my mama's jam. The smell of beach grass, of salty air, salty skin, salty hair, the sound of rushing water. I remember eating carrots covered in dirt from our garden, climbing trees, picking lupins on the side of the highway, home-cooked meals and wishing for hot dogs and Oreos, thinking of the forested lot next door as an entire forest, swimming at concrete human-made beaches, stopping in Marguerite for my dad to catch a few fish before we drove on to Shetty Camp, eating fresh rainbow trout for breakfast, picking sand dollars, watching waves hit the coast with the sound of the foghorn behind me. The buzz of angry wasps chasing after me and my brothers, the smell of blueberry fields, mosquitoes and black fly bites, dancing barefoot in muddy fields at summer festivals, midsummer thunderstorms, square dances, stopping for snacks at farm markets instead of at convenience stores, watching whales, cross-country skiing, snow forts, snow fights, snow angels, jumping from the kitchen window into 10 feet of snow, picking enough blueberries to last an entire winter, and then eating them all in 1 week, chewing on winter-greeny yellow birch twigs, thinking that the orange clouds from the steel plant were pretty, chickadees eating seeds from my hand, driving to the ocean on a hot summer day, only to find the coast foggy and 10 degrees colder, hummingbirds, walking barefoot in moss, singing around bonfires, cicadas, having a single bullfrog keep an entire camp awake, swinging on vines in the rainforest, cooking, and sharing that food, winter camping, bird poop on my raincoat, hours of pinning insects for an entomology course, hours of guilt for killing so many insects, loving white pine trees and the way that they lean, stories of squirrels and frogs and herring and oyster and eels and moose told in the first person. Smelling raw sewage on a hot day when the wind was just right. Weeding a garden in Duncan, BC, and singing songs about Cape Breton. Climbing in the foothills of the Himalayas through rhododendron trees in full bloom. Walking the Aspy River in flimsy sandals. Loving the way tamarack trees look when their needles are growing back. Feeling the magic of the forest, feeling the magic of the ocean, feeling the magic of the backyard, and just feeling magic. How many people could relate to at least one of those things? Is there anybody who couldn't relate to any of them? There are people who can't relate to them. We all have different values, and we all have different interactions with our environment, but we are all influenced by our environment. I really don't last long without that sip of tea. So it's impossible to not be influenced by our surroundings because we are nature. We're part of nature, and nature is a part of us. They're inseparable. And we sometimes need a reminding of that. We sometimes need a reminding that we're breathing every moment of the day. We're breathing in the world, and we're breathing out ourselves into the world, or we're breathing ourselves out into the world. We eat every day, so the food that we eat doesn't matter where it's grown from our earth somehow. So we always get nutrients. We're taking those in, and then we're putting them back out. And this talk is about how I find ways to reconnect with nature and why it's important to me and to my family and to our community and also to the larger environment. So I talked about some things that influenced my environmental ethic, but I'm sure that when we did those things, a lot of them I mentioned were things that we did with my family. I'm sure that my parents didn't think, we should go blueberry picking because that will really develop Nadine's environmental ethic. We did it because it felt right, it was fun, and we wanted blueberries. Or if we just wanted to spend the day at the beach, let's just do that. It feels right in the moment. And the other thing is that these memories, nobody chose for me to remember them. Nobody gets to choose that for me. So parents can decide what to do, but they can't decide if the kid remembers it or if it's meaningful for the child. You can provide these opportunities, but for me, a lot of the things that I remember and cherish and have influenced me are the everyday things. Some were bigger things, but it's something that I think about a lot when I'm with my son, Leo. A lot of you guys know Leo. And it's not my job to make sure that he has these meaningful memories. I can't tell him which ones to remember. But it is my job to provide a nourishing childhood. A nourishing childhood that will provide him with a lot of fun and a sense of connectedness, and also hopefully will develop a care for himself and for his family and for the community and for the environment. And I think that spending time outdoors is part of that. So I love being outdoors. I love raking leaves. I love snowshoeing and hiking and walking and playing with Tonka trucks in the dirt in the backyard. They're all really important to me. I feel different when I'm outside. I feel a bit more relaxed, although sometimes it takes time. Last week I took Leo to Ballard Trail, and we had about an hour. So me, the parent, with a plan, was thinking, okay, let's get this nice little walk, and Leo, the 2-year-old, with no plan, obviously, and so we start walking. We had an hour, and then we had to go. And we got to the bridge, where you park at Bel Air Trail, and the bridge is the first thing you hit. And he got on the bridge and got really excited and ran back. So grabbed some branches and some rocks, and then went back on the bridge, and he dropped them. And it's really awesome. You guys should try this. If you drop a branch on one side of the bridge, then you can run to the other side of the bridge and you can see the branch floating. So he did this a few times. I thought it was really great. He was excited. And then I was like, okay, come on, let's go. Let's get our walk in. And he didn't want to go. And I thought, okay, I'll do it a few more times. And he did it a few more times. And then I thought, again, let's go. At least let's move up the trail a little bit. There's more water. No, the bridge was really cool. And then I thought, whoa, it's really funny. Here I am, I was thinking about this talk already. Here I am preparing for this talk about kids especially, developing this ethic and this love for nature, and I'm trying to stop it. He's having a moment of just loving being outdoors, and I'm trying to stop it. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll join him. So I did, and it was really fun. It really was. If you dropped it, sometimes the sticks would sink, sometimes they would float, sometimes you could see them kind of underwater, sometimes they'd get stuck at the bank. It was really fun. So we spent our hour, and then we had to go. And it was a good day for both of us, and a good reminder to me that it's not always about that agenda. It's about being outdoors. And there is a bit of a movement now that's happening to get kids outdoors. I've been hearing a lot more about it. At first, I was living in Victoria, and there is a huge movement happening there. I can tell you a little bit about it a bit later, but I thought that I was just hearing about it because in Victoria there's a huge movement to get kids outdoors, and there's much more of an environmental education movement happening there. And then when I moved here, I was still hearing a lot about it. People on the street, but also it's really becoming popular. And that's really exciting. About 10 years ago, this book came out. It's kind of the first popular book that I'd read about getting kids outdoors. It's called Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv, and he coined the phrase nature deficit disorder. I think that's a bit sensational. It wasn't my favorite read, but I found it really interesting, and it did really wake people up to the benefits of kids being outdoors. And he writes a lot about kids needing to be outdoors for their brains to fully develop, or they develop differently outdoors than they do inside, in front of a screen, especially. And since this book has come out, it's become very, very popular. And he started this website, or a network, the Children and Nature Network. And they're huge now. They're huge all over the States, and they also have a Canadian contingent. And then this is part of the Canadian Children Network, Nature Network. And they have a Get Outside challenge. So it's just, I've been hearing about all these initiatives. This is a Canadian initiative called Take Me Outside. This man, Colin Harris, who studied at Royal Roads while I was there, actually, he really believed that kids are in front of they spend too much time in front of screens, and he was looking for a way to raise awareness about it, and he ran across Canada really quickly. He ran, usually he would run about a marathon a day, and then he would speak at schools along the way, or community centers, and he organizes an annual Take Me Outside Day that schools and communities can participate in, families, and they have a bunch of resources, as do the Children and Nature Network. They just have lots of resources on ways to get kids outside, and usually that includes the parents getting outside too, and teachers too. And he also designed these great T-shirts that say, "Ask your teacher to take you outside." It's great. Like, if you don't spend any time outside, just ask your teacher. This is one of the initiatives that I mentioned from BC. There are some nature schools, some schools that are outdoor schools, but this is the first school in Canada, an outdoor school. They spend the majority of every day throughout the year outdoors, and this is the first one that's been approved and accepted as part of a regional school district. It's in Souk, just outside of Victoria, BC. And they're in their third year, I think. So the first year, they had over 400 people wanting to get into this classroom of 20 students. Actually, it might even be smaller than 20. And this year, they're starting, it's been going great. They're outside all the time. They have a small shelter for if the weather is super atrocious. And they keep their supplies in there. And they're outside. They're just well-dressed. They're doing really well. So I think this fall they're starting a second class. And this is Victoria Nature School is a preschool, so for 3 and 4-year-olds. And this is, and they're outdoors all the time. And there are lots of outdoor daycares throughout the, well, I wouldn't say lots. There are several throughout the country, and they're all private, and they're doing great. There's one that's really successful in New Brunswick. They're outdoors all the time. And New Brunswick has much colder winters than Victoria, BC. They're still outside. So those are some initiatives from around the country and around the continent. And then there's a new, I don't know if you've heard of it, there's a new initiative locally to get kids outside, the Young Naturalists. So we just started a local chapter. And it's doing great. We've had lots of kids out, and it's really meant to simply get kids outside. And then there are other organizations that are doing the same thing, trying to get people outside. David Suzuki Foundation has a 30 by 30 challenge, so they want people to commit to getting outside for 30 minutes, 30 days, for 30 days in May. It starts May 1st, so it starts this week. So if anybody's interested, check them out. And then there are also all kinds of little things popping up, like I found this on Facebook, lots of resources that show that people are thinking about the importance of getting outdoors. So I thought this nature connection pyramid was great. Daily, getting outside and running on the grass, getting your hands dirty. Weekly, getting out for a nature walk, or exploring tide pools. Monthly, getting to a park. And then annually, finding wilderness, spending some time in wilderness. I thought that was a great little guide to help parents if they need a reminder, or for a teacher. Think how great it would be if a teacher based their curriculum for the year. It's not that strict, right? I could easily fit that in. And another little, I think this was found on Facebook too, but 10 reasons why kids need to take it outdoors. Outdoors, they develop stronger bones and have lowered risk of cancer. They tend to be trimmer and more healthy kids. They have improved eyesight. There's less depression and hyperactivity, longer attention spans, better at making friends. I thought that was interesting. Kids outdoors tend to be more creative, and there's less acting out. There's a school in New Zealand that just got rid of structured play and playground and took away all the rules that they were having, like no playing with rocks, or no, they had all these rules but in the school ground, and they just got rid of those rules, and they have no problem with bullying anymore because the kids are so creative with their play and so I think that's what this is about, that the less acting out, because they're forced to be more creative with their play. Spending more time outdoors, kids have measurably better grades in school, and they have a longer lifespan and healthier adult life. So I thought it was worth posting here just as a reminder, and again as a resource for people. And then, as I mentioned, I've just been hearing about it in the media too. So you don't have to read anything, it was just to prompt me, but here's an article about a lack of outdoor play said to hurt children's development. And here's another article, Outdoor Learning, Education's Next Revolution. Green time versus screen time. Kids and cold, bundle them up, send them out, doctor says. So it's really nice for me to be hearing these things. And I think a lot of people feel like it's right for people to be spending time outdoors, especially for kids to be outside. But it's great to have a bit of research backing it up. And kids who play outdoors grow up to care about nature. So there's this, there's a lot of research on that developing this, spending time outdoors develops this ethic of care for the environment. It also develops an ethic of care for the community because you're interacting with people. When I see people on bikes, it makes me want to ride my bike. And when I see people running, I think, oh, what a great idea. Or when people are out, even just, meeting neighbors, seeing people mowing the lawn, and then you get to chat. It develops community like that when you're spending time outdoors. But the one thing that I find is lacking is that there's this focus on kids, but we forget that adults spending time outdoors also develops our ethic. So an ethic of care doesn't stop at 18 when you graduate from high school, or it continues throughout our lives. And there hasn't been a lot. I haven't been hearing a whole lot about adults. So I did a bit of digging, and I did find a bit. So there has been lately some research done on happiness and spending time outdoors, which is terrific. If you live near a park, you're more likely to be happy. Who doesn't want to be happy? It's great. New study proves exposure to nature directly improves happiness. And this one was really lovely. This is about forest bathing. So in Japan, doctors prescribe time outdoors for specific ailments, and then also for general wellness. I just found a few little quotes that were really great. I was digging up some research. So people who walked on an outdoor track moved at a faster pace, perceived less exertion, and experienced more positive emotions than those who were walked on an indoor treadmill. Subjects who walked through a rural area viewed their to-do list as more manageable than those who walked on city streets. So neat. And then looking at natural scenes activates part of our brains associated with balance and happiness. There was a study in South Korea that showed that when subjects saw images of mountains and forests and other landscapes, natural landscapes, they experienced heightened activity in a part of the brain that's linked to positive outlook and emotional stability. And then it also stimulated another part that's tied to recollection of positive memories. And walking in the woods, we have been hearing lots that walking is important. Exercise of all kinds is important. But I've been hearing a little bit about the fact that walking in the woods is different from walking on a street. So when we walk in a forest or a park, as compared to walking on a street, our levels of white blood cells increase, and it also lowers our pulse rate, our blood pressure, and level of stress hormone cortisol. And oxytocin increases. Oxytocin's the hormone that makes us feel connected and makes us feel loved. It's a good hormone. It's increased. So more of it is released into our body if we're walking in the woods or near trees, like in more natural setting than when we're walking in the city. So if you can go for a walk in the city, great, but if you can go for a walk in the woods or a more natural setting, it's better. And when I hear about this, I don't know why we don't know this already. Like, I mean, I do feel it. I feel the difference. Shelley and I work together. We actually share an office. And we go for a walk every day. And I love it. I feel really good. I know that I can concentrate better in the afternoon. I feel more relaxed. But it's really nice to have some research confirm that. And it also makes my job as an educator easier. You know, if I'm writing a grant application, I can put all of this in. It means a lot to have this backing me up. Oh, there's some more. Right, so how do we do it? How do we get out more? I mean, we all have busy lives. We all have these reasons why we can't. But we just do it. You just open the door and you step outside. So here, I just have a few pics. I have a few photos of ways that I choose to get outside. Some of them, you know, you need a larger commitment of time. So in the top left is an 8-day trip I took in BC. The one next to it is in our backyard. So with Leo picking an Easter egg out of the tree. So you don't have to go far to get the benefits of being outside. You can barbecue and then sit down and have your meal outdoors. And the rest of these, except for the one in BC, I think they're all from Cape Breton. The one next to the Easter egg one is at Ishkaban Falls last year. And then my friend Chantel with Leo, and Edwin and Leo and I on a really cold winter day, miserable, stormy day, and we were a bit shack-wacky, so we bundled up and went outside. We didn't go far, but we got outside and shook a little of the nuttiness from us, and it was one of those 4-day storms that we had. And it's great to be outside. And the one in the middle is on Acadian Trail in Shetty Camp, and Leo camping this is last summer, 2 summers ago, camping in Shetty Camp. And this is in Ingonish, and my mum and my brother and I picking blueberries and some chanterelles that I think Shelley and I picked on our walk on the trail across from us in Eskazoni. And this is Shelley and I today on our lunchtime walk. So sometimes we feel like it's too big of a commitment to get outdoors, but really, we all walked here from our cars, and maybe you could park a bit farther and walk a bit farther, or really we can always find time. Just one little quote that I found today that I really thought was cute. There's no Wi-Fi in the forest, but I promise you will find a better connection. Thank you very much.